Hello Techie, welcome back to the playlist of database management systems. In this playlist, this was the ninth video. In the last video, I explained about what is RDBMS, limitations of file management systems, how those limitations can be overcome by RDBMS. I hope that you saw my last video in this channel. Hence, I hope that you already know about what is an RDBMS. Now it's time to learn how RDBMS stores data inside a database. Now without being any late, let's start our today's tutorial. Before jumping into the main concept, let's grab some of the basics. First of all, data is a piece of information. At the end, data is going to provide some sort of information about a particular thing. Since data is providing some sort of information about a particular thing, you need to store the data. In order to store the data, you need to have databases. So databases are like storage places. Okay, databases are like storage places where group of interrelated data is going to store in an organized way. Note one thing, if you want to have databases, if you want to create databases, if you want to organize databases, then you need to use a specialized software systems called DBMS. Okay, there are different types of DBMS exist. In that DBMS type, RDBMS is one of the type. So there are lot of RDBMS softwares are present, but all the RDBMS softwares are built upon the same idea. So what is that idea? Actually, that idea says if user uses RDBMS softwares, in what way users should store the data inside a database. So this what that idea say. Could we give a name to that particular idea? Yes, of course. That idea is known as data model. Okay, data model actually says that how your data is going to store and organized in a database. RDBMS follows relational data model. So relational data model says that user needs to store data in the form of a tables inside a database. This was the basics that we need to know before jumping into the main concept. Now let's see how RDBMS stores data inside a database. So first of all, you can see here we are using MySQL Workbench. MySQL is a type of RDBMS software which is open sourced and widely used in the industry. So I installed this MySQL Workbench. Don't worry if you don't know how to install this MySQL. I'm going to explain it in the very upcoming videos. So in this video, let's see here. I have a MySQL workbench. In this workbench, I written some queries. So this is an RDBMS software. This MySQL uses SQL programming language in order to manage with databases. Here I written some queries. These queries are used using SQL. Since RDBMS, that is, this MySQL knows only SQL. You see here, I created a database called SampleDB. After executing this query, I have the action output here. So this output is came at the time of 12:57 p.m. Here the action is created database called SampleDB. After executing this query, I have a database called SampleDB. Now I wanted to use this SampleDB, hence I written this query. Okay. After executing this, now I am able to use the sample database. That means I can able to add tables into this sample database. In order to add tables, first of all, we need to create tables. Hence, I typed this query, where this query will create a sample table to me, which is present in this sample DB. After creating a table, I inserted some of the values into this table, which means that I added some data into this sample table. After inserting data, I displayed data stored in this sample table using this query. After executing this query, I got result here. As you can see that our data inside sample DB is stored in the form of a sample table, where this table contains rows and columns. Rows are also known as records, tuples, or entity items. Okay, I am repeating once again. Rows are also known as records, entity items, or tuples. Columns are also known as attributes, features, or properties. Why do we need to call rows as a record or tuple? Because in a table, each row represent a piece of information about a particular thing, which means that in a table, each row is a data that provides some sort of information about a particular thing. In this table, this first row provides information about a person called Ramu, whose ID is 25634 and whose roll number is 21691. Similarly, second row in this table provides some sort of information about Gopal, whose ID is 52634 and whose roll number is 19691. Hence, each row is a record. Record is actually a piece of data. And also, the second names of the rows was entity item. Why do we need to call row as an entity item? First of all, you need to remember this entire table. This entire table is one entity that represent ID, full name, roll number for several people. Okay, remember that this table is this complete table is an entity where this entity represents ID, full name, and roll number for certain people. In this entity item is a row, which means that in this entity a single individual row is an item. Hence, this is an entity item. Now coming to the columns. Why columns are known as attributes, features, or properties? Because this actually describes something. For example, we have a full name. This full name contains different people full names. Okay, this person, okay, in this column, that is this person have a property called ID whose value is 52634. This person have a property called roll number, which information is represented like 19691. That means, for example, if you take, let's assume that we have a cars data where we stored different car names. So for every car, there is a property like color, cost, right? So all those properties are stored in the form of columns. Hence, columns are known as attributes, properties, and features. Now you learnt what is entity, what are entity items, what is a record, what are the different names of rows, what are the different names of columns. But if you observe one thing, table has a structure. So here the structure is two-dimensional, which means the table has rows and columns. Now, if you observe one thing, at the time of creation, I written query like this. So here I said that create table, sample table. It is fine. In this, I given a structure. Okay, I given a structure that is this table should contain ID column, full name column, roll number column. Along with that, I given some of the definition with respect to this particular columns. Which, for example, if you look at ID column should store data of only type varchar, and I given the size as 5. So here in this ID column, the maximum size for each entity item would be 5. If you look at 52634, the size is 5. If you look at 25634, the maximum size is 5, and it is a type of varchar. Coming to full name, the varchar data type 7. Coming to roll number, these are all the integers. Even though in ID column it looks like a number, it is a type of varchar. Since I given data type as varchar. And also observe one thing, on ID I used something called primary key. So what are keys? You are going to learn in the upcoming video. But as of now, you just remember that using some keys, we can import some rules on particular column so that before entering data, some type of checks are performed on that data. If the data satisfies the property, if the data satisfies the condition that you imposed, then only the data will enter into this table. Here primary key says that here primary key is imposed on this particular column called ID. Hence, in this id column there should be no null values and there should be no duplicate values. Okay, if any null value is given, if any duplicate value is given, data won't even enter into the table. As of now you can see here we have null, but this null values doesn't exist inside our database. Inside our database, inside the sample data, we are having only these two rows. Primary key say like on a particular column there should be no null values, no duplicate values. Likewise you can have foreign key, like you have different keys. Okay, now table has a structure and also table have some conditions where that conditions are used to check data before inserting the data into the table. Now table structure plus condition is known as a schema. Table schema is a table structure along with the constraints. In simple terms, conditions imposed on the table is known as a schema. Tiki, that's what for this video. In the next video, we are going to learn different types of constraints. That means different types of conditions and different data types that you can use with the columns of a table. If you reach up to this point in my video, then definitely you might like the information that I provided to you. If you like the information that I provided to you, then why can't you like to the video? Why can't you subscribe to my channel? Because liking the video, subscribing to my channel won't even take a minute and it is absolutely for free of cost. So if you want to support me, then please do subscribe to my channel. Thank you.